You had an eventful weekend. I did.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Following from the filing of the nomination forms from for the vice president, I mean, it was huge, and that is the first victory to 2024 elections. And so from Friday through to Saturday and Sunday has been great, and we hope in the subsequent days we would have more of such good news too.
Very well. So we're going to take a look at the front pages of the newspapers. You help me do a few as well.
Okay.
Whilst we wait for Godwin to join us this morning here on the show. So I'm going to start with the Daily Graphic. And the Daily Graphic on the front page says, bailout results begin to show. Oforiatta courts public support for reforms. And over here at the top, the government starts replacing bridges to open up farming communities. And Afrexim Bank provides $10 billion for AFCFTA Adjustment Fund. That's pages 24-57. You can read about it. And Graphic Courier marks 3 years. That's also captured on the front page of the Daily Graphic this morning. The back page, Dreams FC win historic MTN FA Cup, and Apim Dakwa ladies retain Women's FA Cup. Very interesting stuff over there. So this morning looks like it's been women, and almost everything we're doing on the show today is about women. Of course, we need to celebrate and empower them. Exactly what we're doing. So that'll be pretty much the front page of the Daily Graphic. In the middle page somewhere, there's a news feature. Maybe you want to try read about it. Transforming lives in mining communities. MDF makes impact. That's also somewhere in the middle page. You can read about it. And government honors 21 countries, international bodies, and captured somewhere in the Daily Graphic as well. Now, Academic City empowers SHS students on STEM education, and Students Loan Trust Fund, others plant 500 trees. That's the Daily Graphic this morning. Manasseh, you can pick any of those over there, and let's see what's on the front page.
So I have the publisher here, the Ghanaian publisher, and on page 3 it reads, I have served NPP, and there's the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. Then also we have on page 2, Finance Minister unveils massive energy sector reforms. That's huge. Then on page 7, we have Etiwa East MP launches insurance policy for constituents. Then also on page 3, we have Let's Make Kidney Care Affordable. And this by Gabi Ochredako. Yes. And at the back, we have pictures of the Vice President when he filed his nomination forms at the MPP headquarters on Friday. Yes, please.
Okay, so that's the publisher, right?
Yes, that's a publisher.
Okay, so let's go to Daily Guide this morning. The front page of Daily Guide says Bawumia hits ground running. That's the banner headline. Bawumia hits ground running. And page 3 has got a story on that. You can read about it. And also over here says no prison term for we smokers. No prison term for we smokers. And Okwe vets NPP presidential aspirants. Page 3 has got a story on that as well. Allegations against Owen Chief Bogus, and that's also on the front page of the Daily Guide. Accra Hajj airlift starts, and so if you've got intentions of making it to Hajj, well, airlifting is being started, and so you want to also read about that as well. Let's get to the back page somewhere. Of course, it's actually has a lot of sports activities now. Stars near AFCON qualification, and over the weekend the Black Stars played against Madagascar, and it was the best smile according to reports and what we watched on television. Some very, very serious concerns have been raised about the way the Black Stars performed yesterday. And for me, I think I also tweeted somewhere on social media, Twitter, that the Black Stars team has to be sold. I don't know which country would definitely buy, but I don't think what they played yesterday has anything to do with qualification and even subsequently performing very well in the tournaments. It's about time that we spoke the truth. We'll let people understand that, you know what, we're not going anywhere with this, because really, We'll get to that. PSG, Nagelsmann talks breakdown, and a lot of things happening at PSG at the moment. Thomas Partey has now future uncertain. JV Milan express interest. All right, so Thomas Partey might be making a U-turn somewhere in the coming weeks or months, if you like. Now, VGMA ready to dialogue with Shatawale, and that's captured in the middle page of the Daily Guide. And away from that, Black Sherif out with Oil in My Head video. A very beautiful video, if you ask me. Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse band in UAE. And CIMJ brand index report gains momentum. And African Bank launches insurance subsidiary. That's also in the middle page of the Daily Guide this morning. Let's brace ourselves for economic reforms, says the Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta. And some feature over here, escaping short-termism, paving the path for lasting political legacies. And that's also some story you want to read about as well. Chief repairs damaged roads, and World Vision engages communities on climate change. Man butchers wife in Mpo. People are still doing this. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Daily Guide this morning. Pretty much you want to read about it. What next do we have?
We have the new Crusading Guide, and it reads on page 3 and 10. NPP presidential race. I have my own vision for Ghana. Dr. Bawumia. Yes. Then also Apostle Ibn Buahin and Pastor Samewua of CDC busted for non-payment of pastors' SNET contributions. Then Parliamentary Committee commends State Housing Company. Yes, that's what I have for the new Crusading Guide.
Okay, so the finder is here this morning. Let's get to the finder and find out what the finder is also reporting this morning. It says that government Paris Club set to sign MOU on debt treatment terms. Oforiatta says so, and Bawumia hints of his own vision to consolidate Akufo-Addo's achievements. That's also captured on the front page of the finder. And Asasa Foundation donate dialysis machines, urges NIHIS to cover kidney treatment. Kidney issues are very, very serious issues, and when they come out like this, a lot of people have their own stories to tell on that. So it's a pretty good one, and that's the front page of the finder. Let's see if we can get something else to read in the middle pages, and then we'll come to some of the issues, the big issues that we want to take a look at this morning. This one says, let's have more interfaith unity, peace for development. Chief Imam has spoken. And also the birth certificate is the right of every child. Some feature you want to read about as well. Dr. Friakoto files nomination forms today. That's also in the finder. And Ghana launches third phase of national action plan against child labor. That's also captured the finder this morning. And so yes, that'll be the finder. We're going to get into some others. Do you have any other?
Yes, so we have the Economy Times, and it reads, banking sector fraud climbs up, depositors lose 56 million Ghana cedis. Then also there's another story here on the cedi. Cedi posts positive outlook. Then gold for oil deals suffers critical scrutiny. Government told to take a second look at it. Then at the back of the Economy Times, Ghana securing a $10.5 billion US debt relief. Looks bleak, economist predicts. Then inflation rises marginally.
Okay, that's the Economy Times this morning. Now we'll move on. The Daily Dispatches here, front page reads, in all humility, I want to be the NPP's presidential candidate and be sworn in as Ghana's next president. Dr. Bawumia says, in all humility, I want to be the NPP's presidential candidate and be sworn in as Ghana's next president. That's after taking up the nominations forms. Now, NDC MP angry over high dog meat prices, and well, that's a pretty interesting one. NDC's Chachi Kwesin facing high courts over criminal charges, and my life experience tells me never to take anything for granted, says Dr. Bawumia. And so that's the dispatch, and Dr. Bawumia speaking this morning as against, the coming weeks and what there is in terms of the presidential race. We're very hopeful. And of course, the NPP is very hopeful that he will eventually pick up that spot and come against Mr. Mahama, who's already, waiting patiently to find out who comes up against him after the NPP has gone for their primaries and elected that person to take up the party and moving it forward and breaking the eight subsequently, or something they very much seek to achieve. All right, so that will be the front pages of the newspapers this morning. We're going to take a quick breather. When we come back, we're going to delve into some of the most important issues that have come up here on Newsflash. Stay with us. Welcome back, and that's a pretty good boogie over there. And fathers doing what they love to do, celebrating themselves even when women are supposed to be doing so. And well, right now, if they don't celebrate you, celebrate yourself. And so I'm excited that fathers are taking it upon themselves to celebrate themselves. Really, let's do what we have to do for ourselves. Anyway, so we're back, and we've been joined by Godwin Mahama, coming from the NDC this morning as well. We're going to get into some of the substantive issues that have actually come up. But gentlemen, welcome, Godwin.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're good.
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I'm very well. You had a good weekend, Father's Day celebration.
I did my own thing. As you said, if you don't celebrate, you celebrate yourself. So I did my own thing.
Oh, so you have a child or potential one?
I think
I'm a potential one.
Then let me tie mine with your own. Some issues are meant private.
Okay.
Some issues are meant private.
No,
you
I
have
understand.
to explain your potential. The potential word you use, you have to explain.
I have to explain that.
Yes.
It means I'm on the verge of, or in the process of giving my first child, actually.
Okay.
Or second or third.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
We are far behind, though. Look for a wife and join us.
Indeed.
Join the potential fathers.
Exactly. I'll do so quickly.
Anyway, so gentlemen, we're going to get into the issues proper, but I would like us to start from Dr. Bawumia's filing for nomination. And there's also been another issue of campaign song, and one Kwame Yogot, who is a Ghanaian musician, is not excited about the song that is being used for the campaign. The BBC is his own song, and he believes that he's not been contacted yet by the party, and so he thinks that it's some sort of disrespect to his craft, if you want to put it that way. And the fact that he's also the grandson of Judge Gracie, that's another aspect of it that I don't know. But I mean, that's a good one. Let's talk about the filing of the nominations first, and then we'll deal with the issue of the music. Okay. That's a good one for the NPP.
Sure, KMJ, a very good morning to you, a very good morning to my brother Godwin, and a very good morning to our cherished viewers. I send special greetings to my mom and to Kwesiboche Jr., who is also a fellow colleague, an MPP communicator. He's watching.
Okay.
It's indeed a great one. You see, the aim of the MPP is to break the 8. And for us, what we are looking at is to support a candidate who is well positioned, who sends a lot of signals and shocks across the spine of the NDC. Over the years, we've seen the track record of most of the people who are filed. We've had about 11 or 12 people who are filed, and all of them are party stalwarts. They are great men, and they are all capable of doing the work. But when you consider their message, their experience, and others, for me, I believe the vice president is the most experienced and the most well-positioned person to lead the party to break the 8. I mean, we've had a lot of people raising their own concerns, talking here and there, but when you look at what he has done, he is the one who has been able to stand by the party and with the party. We remember the 2013 election petition, which stood for almost 8 months. He was the one who stood in court. He left all that he was doing, and he was in court all this while to defend the party, and it was on the backdrop of that we've had a lot of electoral reforms at the EC and even at the MPP, I mean, in our party. And so when you look at what he has done as vice president and the kind of initiatives he has championed, given the digitalization agenda, we believe he is well positioned. You ask yourself, why is it that the NDC is always calling for his head? Why is it that the NDC is always mentioning his name? It tells you that
because
there's something...
they mention his name because they think it's underperforming. Anytime they mention his name, that's what comes out.
KMJ, if they think he's not performing, if they think he's not fit, then of course they would rather support they would rather support us to bring him. They would rather just allow. So you see, the NDC is playing what we call reverse psychology. They are only playing with the minds of their own self, and the Ghanaian people, they know very well that when Bawumia is elected as the presidential candidate, they are in trouble. And that's how come they are always spelling doom, raising negative comments about him. But for us, we believe we want to break the 8. We have done a lot more, and we know that the person who will be able to leverage on what we have done so far to build more, to ensure we don't step back as a country, is the vice president. And so it was very refreshing to see the kind of support he had on Friday when he filed his nomination forms. And he's been moving from one constituency to the other in the Greater Accra region. And everybody is connecting to the signal. It tells us how poised we are for victory and how collective we are. You know, this is more like a communal labor something. It is not an individual affair. It is something we are doing collectively to ensure that the broader aim of the party is brought to bear in the 2024 elections. And we have no doubt in our mind that the vice president, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is the one who is well positioned enough to beat the NDC and to move the country forward as well.
If you speak about sacrifices, which of course you mentioned the issue of the election petition and all of that, the Drew Misu team would also want to come through and say that we have also made some sacrifices. Alan has been there, he's done that, he's giving other people the opportunities to move, you know, and maybe they want to argue on that too.
I mean, everybody feels he's best fit to serve the party, and in our bid and effort of promoting certain candidates, we are very careful not to step on toes, because when we are through with the primaries, we would need a formidable force. We would have to amend every broken bridge in the MPP to ensure we are able to break the 8. You know, of course, the records are there to compel. Don't forget that it took the efforts of this same Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for the NPP to snatch 15 seats from the NDC. 15 in the northern regions and the 2 upper regions, old regions. And so when it comes to what he has done, he has been with the party since 2004 when he was deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. And he also became the vice presidential candidate for the then candidate Akufo-Addo in 2008, 2012 and 2016. And so when it comes to experience, I don't think we've had someone who has about 12-year experience as a vice presidential candidate. I don't think we've had someone who has 8 years experience as a vice president today amongst those who have filed their nomination forms, about the 11 or 12 candidates. And so experience-wise and what he brings to bear, you know, the MPP is known as an Akan-dominated party, right? And so we believe when we bring Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he will be able to leverage and even fight, compete well with the former President Mahama to win the non-Akan areas, which is also very critical. Because if you win in the Akan-dominated areas and you flop at the non-Akan areas, it may spell doom for you. And so on all grounds, for me,
in terms of sacrifices, he's made more sacrifices than
there is no denying the
That's
fact.
what it is right now.
There is no unless you want to point out to some of the sacrifices the other candidates have made. But I mean, for me, what he has done for the party is huge. I mean, to leave all that he was doing. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, he had to leave that. He had to stand in for the party for 8 months. You know, it's a lot. And so when it comes to sacrifices, I think he beats any other person amongst those who are contesting today. And for the MPP, you know, most people are aware of the capabilities and the potential of Dr. Bawumia. They know that he is the one who is able to do a lot of the things we have promised. When you look at the free SHS, the Ghana card, the digitalization, and all of that, it took his efforts, his brilliance to ensure we are able to make significant headway in implementing all these policies. And so it is not surprising he is getting the massive support he is getting. And we hope it will continue so that when we vote, he would win and hopefully we'll be able to break the 8. The aim is to break the 8.
Okay.
We know what the NDC stands for and what they do when they come into power. We want to continue on what we have done as government. And that's how come we want to be sure we are bringing someone who can continue with what we've done, who will leverage on what we've done so far to build more, so that we would have more benefits as Ghanaians too.
Okay. Godwin.
Senior, a very good morning to your cherished viewers. Let me say a belated Father's Day to all our fathers in and around the world. And let me also say a good morning to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the people of Asin North. I want to urge them that as for Jachukwu Kwesi, he's the best man for the job at Asin North. Come next week, Tuesday, they should not look elsewhere apart from voting for Honorable Jachukwu Kwesi. They did it before in the last election, and they can repeat same and even do times what they did in 2020. On the issue of Dr. Bawumia filing his nomination, it's a normal thing in all political parties. You know, we are approaching the next general election. It is required that every political party, per their constitution, when you look at our constitution as a party, 2 years to any election year when we are in opposition, that's when we are required to elect our flag bearer. I don't know of the MPP, but I want to believe they are still within the domain of their constitution. So it's a constitutional mandate that they have to go to a national congress or conference to elect a leader. But what I would want the people of Ghana to understand is that the NDC is never afraid of any single soul of the MPP, be it Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Alan Tremantin, Kennedy Ejapon. We are never afraid of them because there is none of them that hasn't played significant role or that hasn't involved himself in this leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government. So the question is that if the people of Ghana are crying because things are not working, the economy is not booming, we don't have a good business environment for private sector to strive on in order to expand, to employ people. Unemployment rate today stands as 13%. Where is our exchange rate? Where is our debt to GDP? We have overborrowed in the history of this country. All these people have been part of the government of the day. So if they want to now lead the MPP, then the question is that what do they have in them, extra O, that they want to be voted for as flag bearers or be voted for as president before they will be able to bring those experiences on bear or to bear for you and I to benefit. It tells you that they have nothing left in them. What they have is what they have given to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government, and we are experiencing hardship today. Most of them have been part of the how do I even call it, the cabinet the cabinet of this
the
government.
candidates that are contesting.
Yes, especially Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the head of the economic management team. Alan Tremantin was a trade minister, who he was part of the cabinet of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Yes or no? As we speak, Kennedy Japan, I know, is the chairman of the defense committee in parliament. You can mention. So they have all been part of this government. And today, if the government has failed, because they told us they would never step foot in IMF. Today, where are we? What did they have to do extra that they cannot do it now for you and I to benefit? Then they are being selfish, because you don't wait to become a leader of a party, or you don't wait to become a president before you can help your party that is in government since 2017.
Well, according to them, he seeks to continue what they have started.
What have they started? Where are we? Are you okay with the economy of this country today? Tell me, you are a Ghanaian. You also buy food? Yes or no? You buy petrol? Yes or no? No, tell me, are you okay with it? You are not. You see, you are not able to say, let us be factual to ourselves. So if the person tells you that he's ready to continue what his government is doing, it tells you he's ready to take us to the worst situation that we find ourselves now. And my brother speaks of the fact that it is true, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, that they have been able to get a lot of seats at the northern part of this country. You see, the end, they say, justifies the means. Yes or no?
Yes.
It's not about you getting a lot of seats in some isolated regions. Do you get me? The most important thing is, at the end, how many MPs were you able to get? Prior to 2020, the MPP had about 159 seats. We had 116 seats. The last election that we did. Today, we are around 137. They also have 137. It's only because of the independent candidate that today there seems to be the party in majority. So the question is that if he got over 15 or around 15 at the northern part of this country, he is not responsible to only the northern part of this country. As a party, you must bear in mind that at the end of every election, you must get majority MPs. So if you had 159 and the last election you dropped to 137, it tells you he has failed. So don't do choose and pick. What favors you is what you talk about. But as I said, the end justifies the means.
Okay.
Because at the end, you must get majority. So what role did he play that made you to drop from 159 to 137? If not because of independent candidate, you wouldn't have been at the majority. So the long and short of all what I'm talking about is that, as for the NDC, we are very optimistic that the 2024 election, we are going to win. The people of Ghana will queue and vote for the NDC.
Okay.
Because when you do all the comparison, it is clear that since 2017 to date, this government has taken us to the worst situation Ghana has ever experienced. And as I mentioned some of them to you, today as we speak, they took the debt, the borrowed.
Wrapping up, so we'll go to the next issue.
Since before they took power, the country's legacy debt was standing at 122 billion. Today we have gone past 500 billion. Before they took office, the debt to GDP was standing at 56%. Today our debt to GDP is close to 100%. Before they took office, we had an inflation rate of 15.4%. Today inflation rate is more than 42%. Before they took office, the NDC had taken the unemployment rate to a single digit. Today unemployment rate is at 13%. So all the economic figures doesn't support the fact that the MPP would have to continue with their government or their governance. Everything indicates that we must truncate the MPP and bring back the NDC. Because it's only the NDC that when we are in power, every Ghanaian, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your religion, you enjoy
Okay.
the national cake.
Okay, very well. So we're going to move on to the next issue. No, I thought if you want to do anything, it has to be 1 minute, under 1 minute for me, because we need to move on to the IMF conversation.
Yes, Kenji, thank you. I mean, to say that all the economic figures point out to the fact that MPP has to be kicked out is a lie. It's a palpable lie. The reason I say so is that today, when you look at the growth rate, you see in 2013, 14, 15, the growth rate under the NDC was 2.9, 2.1, and even 3.1 or so. Even after COVID, we were able to grow the economy at 5.1%. He's talking about employment. Of course, we know every now and then we have a lot of graduates churning out from our various tertiary institutions. But it took this government to put in place an unprecedented policy to employ 100,000 people at a go, NAPCO. And today, most of these people are being employed in various sectors of the economy. The rest who are not having any work to do will be enrolled onto the U-Start. And so to make allusions to those facts are lies. And he mentioned that the vice president is the head of the economic management team. True. But don't forget that as the head of economic management team, he has no autonomous powers on his own. The economic management team is an advisory team to cabinet. And cabinet itself is an advisory team to the president. And so when you are the head, you don't have any autonomous powers to decide on your own. Whatever decision or whatever advice you would give to cabinet and by extension to the president, it would be implemented by the collective decision of the cabinet team. And even if the president...
So is the cabinet that is not listening to him enough?
Even, I'm not making that point. That's why he said he has his own vision. The point I want to make is that because he is the head of the economic management team, doesn't give him some autonomous powers to make decisions on his own. He doesn't have any powers to make decisions on his own. He is only an advisory team to the president. All right, that's how come he is saying he has his own vision, and when he is giving the nod as the presidential candidate of NPP to stand in the elections and he wins, he'll be able to implement his own visions for the country. And so to say that he is the head of the economic management in this and this means you don't even understand the work of the economic management team to be alluding certain challenges to the vice president.
Yeah. Okay. See, now just a minute. Just a minute. No, just a minute. You see, let us not allow this MPP to play with our minds. I remember, I think somewhere last year, the MPP held a youth program at Kaswa. That is where the vice president came to speak, mentioned all the list of those that are part of the economic management team, and praised them and said, this is a solid team. This is what he said. So he admits the fact that his advice plays significant role in the running of this economy. When it is good, he wants to claim glory of it. And when it goes worse, you see supporters of him trying to exonerate him from the mess. He cannot be exonerated.
Okay.
Because he has claimed credit on a lot of things. Because the things they claim he does, i.e., IT sector, free SHS that he mentioned and other stuffs, they are all various sectors of the economy that comes together for you and I to enjoy as a people. Yes or no? So if at the end, you and I are suffering today, and all what an MPP person will tell you is that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is just an advisor to the government. And the question is that the MPP as a party themselves do not trust in the advice he gives. Okay. Because when you trust somebody, anything the person tells you, you have to take it and implement it. Okay. So today, my brother is telling me that the MPP as a party themselves does not even trust the technical advice Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia gives them, and that is where we. That's the reason why we move on to the No, we're going to move to the import of your message. That is the import of your message. That is the import of your message. You're doing propaganda. No, that is the import of your message. No. We have Godwin and Manasseh. Okay, so we'll move on to the IMF conversation now. The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta had a briefing on the progress that we're
making in terms of the IMF spending, the policies and all of that. And he had a briefing for the press. And he mentioned that they are trying as much as possible to engage the global community to make sure that we're able to implement whatever the IMF has given us, very well. Now, he spoke about engagement with South Africa and South Korea as well. And he believes that we are gradually on course and we're going to get better with the, progress that we've made so far. Let me start from Manasseh. No, let me start. I'll come back to you. Manasseh, let me start from you.
Yes, so the finance minister updated the nation yesterday, and he had to give us briefs on the IMF program and the path to economic growth. It was refreshing some of the things he said. We know issues concerning the energy sector, and of course with the cocoa board as well. And so government is putting together a thorough strategy to ensure that we are able to minimize the losses in the energy sector. As we say every time, the country has to pay about $1 billion every year just because of the energy sector debts and the challenges therein. And so government is seeing how we'll be able to put in place a lot of structural reforms in the energy sector and in the cocoa sector so that going forward we'll be able to ameliorate the higher debts in the energy sector. Then also with the IMF conversation, he explained that between the 8th and 15th of June, government concluded some conversations with the IMF technical team. And somewhere in September, November, they'll be looking forward to releasing the second tranche of the money. And he also mentioned the essence of protecting the poor and the vulnerable in the society. We know that there are a lot of people who are living below the poverty line. The Ghana Statistical Service, in their survey, points out to the fact that we have about 2.5 million people living below the poverty line. And the IMF, in their quest to sustain economic growth in countries, are also concerned about pro-poor policies. And that's how come they've allowed portions of their money to be invested or to be spent on the poor and the vulnerable in the society. And so government has increased the LEAP beneficiaries from 45 cedis to about 90 cedis per person. Then also when you consider the school feeding program, we've had challenges when it comes to issues and clearing them and all of that. And so part of these monies will also be allocated to the school feeding programs to ensure we are able to invest more in the human capital formation of the country so that our younger brothers and sisters and our children would have the peace of mind to enjoy their free hot meal every day. And also we also want to ensure that we're able to make prompt payments when it comes to the NHIs. And so it was one of the updates the finance minister gave so that as a country we'll be abreast with what is happening in country, and also for us to brace ourselves for some of the reforms we will be seeing. We've had challenges with the country, and sometimes it is disheartening when you hear that we import some basic commodities, even tomatoes, rice and the rest. And so he also mentioned that there is this economic enclave program. We mentioned this last year, and government is investing in it so that as a country we will be self-sufficient in the production of rice, maize, tomato, even poultry, vegetables and the rest, so that it will limit the rate at which we import these basic food commodities. And that's how come we'll be able to strengthen our local currency. And so the update is good, and we look forward to some more announcements, especially with the details of the energy sector reforms, the cocoa sector reforms, so that going forward we'll be able to ensure our state-owned enterprises are working very well and efficiently so that losses amongst our SOEs will be minimized.
Speaking of that, I think we would also have to, it's relatable, so we have to add that to it. PFAC has also spoken, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana have also spoken about their own share of the IMF money to boost agriculture. I mean, they spoke about agroecology and all of that, so maybe we can add that conversation to it. You think that is a good call as well? Godwin, let me take your take on the IMF.
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the update given to the people of Ghana by the finance minister, for me, is refreshing. But the question I keep asking myself is that 7 years on, we want to be hearing issues like, we've done this, we've done this, we've done that.
So it's refreshing that as a minister, he's decided to brief us.
As for transparency,
for us to know that,
he's briefing us, it is good.
But not the issues on board.
Transparency is part of good governance. It's expected that when you're practicing good governance, you must be transparent to your people, with your people. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying that being transparent, 7 years on, what most Ghanaians would want to hear is, we've done this, we've done this, we've done that. Surprisingly, my brother keeps mentioning and repeating that we want to be looking at how we would reduce the importation of some simple or common commodities that we import into this country. I think that is the reason why prior to 2016 election, the government promised this 1D, 1F. So for good 7 years, you have not been able to achieve that. What is the guarantee that the 1.5 years left with you to leave power, you'll be able to achieve that? Because they keep telling the people of Ghana that about more than 170 or 125 factories are in operation. And in this country, should we have more than 100 effective factories operating? We should not be talking this way by this time. You get me? We should be speaking about the impact that those factories has made to us. As I said, I don't have any issue with the update he gave us. But what the people of Ghana is expecting from the finance minister and the government of the day is that they will put those IMF monies into good use. Because we went to IMF because the economy had crashed. The economy had crashed. They had told us that they have no money. If we don't go to IMF, we are not going to have the opportunity to do A, B, C, D. So if, fortunately, we have had the opportunity to sign to the IMF deal, then we expect that all those monies will be put to good use so that very soon the people of Ghana will see uplift of the economy, change in the economic life, reduction of prices in some basic commodities. Fuel must come down. Because if the people of Ghana queue to vote for any party to form government, it is expected that the policies of the government will make lives of the citizens so good that we will always be proud for voting for a particular government. But should we queue and vote for people, and every now and then we should be crying for high cost of living, the unemployment rate, the high cost of fuel, high cost of basic commodities? Today, the young girls cannot even get money to buy pad. Pad. I remember under John Mahama, he decided to distribute free pad to our secondary school children, especially the females. The NPP told us that it was demonic for him to do that. Today, it is becoming a problem. CSOs are crying for government to intervene so that at least they can provide these basic things for our ladies. These are the things that a government is expected to do for the people. So the fact that you come to address the people, for me, it is fine. But as I said, the meat that needs to be chewed has not been chewed yet. We expect the government to come specific, and give us timeline, at least basic timelines, that by this time, these are the things we will be expecting. By this time, these are the things we expect. If you followed his update, most of the economic figures he churned out, he made mention of most of them relative to 2022. And when I was coming, I was really asked myself, what of 2023? He made mention of inflation rate, which was around 31% in 2022. Today, inflation rate is more than 42%. He decided to hide today's inflation rate and make reference to last year's inflation rate. Do you get me? You cannot be doing this to the people of Ghana. Because we need to accept who we are, where we have gotten to as a people. If you don't accept who you are, you cannot progress in life. So if they decide to hide figures for it to look rosary before the people, then at the end we will not be going anywhere. We'll be at where we are. As I said, the people of Ghana deserves better from this government. They promised better. They promised better. And that is why the people of Ghana voted for them. Upon all what John Mahama was doing in 2016, building of roads, building of schools, a lot of things, these people promised heaven and earth. And you know, as human, everybody is expected to get better. So even when I give you 10 cedi and somebody is promising you of 20 cedi, you will fall for the 20 cedi than the 10 cedi. So I don't blame the people of Ghana, because upon all what John Dramani Mahama was doing at his reign or during his reign, these people were promising extremely better. So the people of Ghana fell for it and voted for them. So this is not the time for rhetorics. This is not the time for blames. This is the time they must sit up and give the people of Ghana what they deserve. Okay. What they deserve, nothing more, nothing less.
So a quick one on PFAC's call, you know, with the IMF, situation as well, and then we'll move on to the next one that we need to talk about. So they are actually urging that they have a share. The attention is put on them as well, so that they can also use that to boost the agricultural sector as well.
You see, let me come in.
So just
okay, no problem. You see, I agree with them. Ghana, if we have to invest in the agricultural sector of this country, we would be self-sufficient. That we don't need to import any food item into this country. All what they are calling for is that the government must give them their fair share, because the agricultural sector is a very impactful sector that government must not turn it back at them. I think that is one of the reasons why I, from 2016, has supported this policy of 1D, 1F. But as I said, it has failed so far. So if the peasant farmers are calling for that, I think it's a good call. The government must just listen to them, because you see, I told you, the economy of this country comes together through the various sectors of this economy, i.e. education, agriculture, health sector, and all the other sectors. And this money that we are getting from IMF is supposed to impact every sector of this country: education, agriculture, and all the other sectors. And if the peasant farmers are calling for their fair share of the IMF money, I think it is fair. It is fair that the government must make sure that they get this, because they cannot starve them of what is due them. Since this government came to power, I am privy to the fact that they have neglected the agriculture sector, irrespective of the people who follows Alan Cheramantin saying that he has done better when it comes to trade. People, I think the former agric minister, what's the name? Efriye Akoto. Yeah, he's also part of those who wants to be voted for as flag bearers of the MPP.
He's speaking his form today.
As we speak, the agriculture sector is nothing to write home about. It's nothing to write home about.
Okay.
So the long and short all is that it's a good call, and the government of the day must listen to them.
Manasseh. KMJ, yeah. For Godwin to say that he was reading the IMF document, I mean the updates by the briefing by the finance minister. I'm not too sure how he read. He made some wrong allusions that we are hiding figures, and that when the finance minister was mentioning figures, he intentionally ignored that of 2023. Even with respect to inflation, that's a lie. That's a lie. When we check page 4, with your indulgence, I'll read. On page 4, even gave an update on the domestic front, and it reads, inflation has decelerated to 42.2% for the month of May 2023, down from 54.1% at the end of December 2023. Then he went ahead to even explain that there has been a 1% increase in inflation from April 2023, which was 41.2%. Then he also goes ahead to explain the reasons for the increase in this inflation. And he even mentioned that it has to do with the pass-through effect of the utility tariff adjustments and so on. And so for you to sit here and say that, I mean, we are hiding figures, he even went ahead to mention that of the currency stability we have gained. And he gave an update that as at 16 June 2023, the cedi has appreciated by some 21.9%. And so when you sit here and you speak to the cameras and you make palpable lies, clear lies, that government is hiding figures, for what? To what end? We don't do that. The finance minister was clear, and he mentioned all these figures to even explain the reasons why we are having a deceleration in our inflation. And so please, it's not true that we are hiding figures. We have nothing to hide, and he gave an update as current as 16th of June. KMJ, government has been deliberate, especially with the One District, One Factory. And when you go to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, they are doing significant work. The ministry has supervised the massive infrastructure across the One District, One Factory initiative. It takes time for us to harness the progress of some of these industries. What I know is that most factories have been revived. Recently, the Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Katie Hammond, was in Parliament, and he updated the nation as to some 14 million Ghana cedis that has been disbursed to about 48 companies, 48 existing companies, and we have 12 of them that are in the pipeline to receive benefits from the Afri-Exim Bank. And so when it comes to deliberate policy to ensure that as a country we are able to have a lot of factories and industries running, this government has been unprecedented in this regard. NDC has no record to show in this regard. It is not also true what he said that the agric sector has collapsed. Agric isn't doing any well. When you check the figures for agric, even during the time of COVID up to this time, together with all the challenges we've had across the world over and in Ghana, we have made significant strides when it comes to agri-sector growth. And we are putting in more effort to ensure we are able to harness on the advantages of the planting for food and jobs, and also to build more to ensure we engage the youth into agriculture. That's how come we've launched the economic program, for economic enclave program, to ensure we're able to go into the production of maize, rice, poultry, what's the name, tomato and the rest, vegetables on a very large scale. And so it is not true for him to sit here
and all these are in the pipeline. All these are things that
these are things we are doing already. In fact, with the economic enclave program, last year government was able to irrigate about 2,000 acres of land. Very huge. And I know by now we've started plantation here across the country. We had about 6 or 7 regions where this massive agricultural investment will be done. And so government is doing a lot more. So for him to say that we've done nothing in agric, it's not true. Government is doing a lot more across board, across all the sectors of the economy, and Ghanaians are aware. He mentioned that what Ghanaians want to hear is what we have done. Of course, Ghanaians know we've done the free SHS. Ghanaians know, and they are very much aware, that the teacher training allowance that you cancelled when you were in government in 2016 and the nursing training allowance that you cancelled, we have restored it. And it is helping a lot more people who do not have a lot of financial resources to cater for themselves. Ghanaians are aware that when they cried on the then President Mahama, who is your candidate today, who has been rejected 2 times by Ghanaians, I hope you've not forgotten. Former President Mahama has been rejected twice. The first time, 1 million people rejected him. The second time, about 500,000 Ghanaians rejected him. You are not even ashamed to bring this candidate back. And yet you are here fighting against the vice president. Ghanaians are well aware of what this government has done. They know that when they called on the then former president, when he was president, when they called on him at that time to ensure he's able to create a lot more job opportunities, he told them point blank that he's not a magician to conjure jobs from the skies. But when Ghanaians cried on His Excellency President Akufo-Addo that they wanted jobs, what did he do? At a go, he was able to implement the NAPCO program. Today, we have created 2.1 million employment opportunities. This is unprecedented. No government in the history of Ghana has been able to do this, to create 2.1 million job opportunities at a goal. And so when you sit here, yes, we can go on and on and on. The mobile money interoperability. Today, I don't waste my time going to the bank. I can sit in the comfort of my home, take my phone, do my own transfers. During your time, no one could transfer money from even your bank account to your MTN mobile money wallet. You couldn't transfer money from one telco to another. But today you can do that with ease and at minimum charges. And mind you, the NDC say again.
You think those charges are minimum?
They are, at least when you compare those charges to you having to travel.
Because there's serious complaints about the charges.
Of course, but our government is a listening government. We started the levy at 1.75%. We reduced it to 1.5%, and now it's 1%.
Still, people are complaining.
Of course, policies are subject to review. So when government considers what is happening,
so there's a possible.
Of course, I'm not preempting anything, but every policy is subject to review to ensure the country is able to harness the best out of it.
Except the free SHS, which
has
never been able to accept review. the mere mention of review, is a big deal. Maybe now, because now some of the briefing that has come up indicate that we're going to be reviewing the free SHS. In fact, after the IMF bailout.
Indeed,
but in the past we have had conversations about review.
Yes, when we talk of our flagship programs and the review, we are always careful not to be dismissive of the fact that some Ghanaians are really vulnerable and they need help. Conversations around the free SHS and as to whether it would be prudent for government to bring in some reforms to ensure maybe some schools, some people in some schools have been made to pay school fees, or probably making only boarding facility free, and all of that are something government is considering. But we are careful to ensure we are able to achieve the utmost aim of the program or the policy, which is to ensure we have a lot more people in the various schools, and that's what government is doing. And so, government has done a lot, and we continue to do a lot. Ghanaians know what the MPP has done. They know our track record, from the digitalization to the free SHS to the 1D, 1F, 1 village, 1 dam, restoring the teacher training and nursing training allowance, and they know when they continue to vote for us, we'll do more. Let them mention one social intervention policy they left us apart from.
Very well. But our time is up, and we have to wrap up.
Just a minute. You see, let us be truthful to ourselves. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo stood for a national election in 2008. Yes or no? Was he voted for?
No.
2012. He stood for a general election. Was he voted for?
So it's okay for.
Was he a president by then? I'm saying ex-president. Was he a president?
You see, he
the only difference is that one was the president.
He wasn't specific in that. He wasn't specific in that vein. He said the people of Ghana has rejected him.
Former president in his capacity as a former president. That's it.
Please.
That's what I said.
Whether as a president or not a president, it is the people of Ghana that queues to vote during a general election. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has equally been rejected.
He wasn't a
by the people of Ghana.
He wasn't a president.
So you cannot be doing choose and pick. Do you get me? Whether John Mahama has been rejected or not, today the people of Ghana are crying for him.
That's a lie.
They are crying for him. And I know they will vote for him.
We don't have short memory.
You see, sometimes I keep repeating this statement that to what end? Everything that every government does has a bottom line. So with all the youth employment programs you have mentioned, NAPCO and everything, today the unemployment rate stands at 13%. During our time, that you want to claim that we said we are not magicians and everything, our employment rate was at single digit. So you see, it's not about just making rhetorics or just talking. The facts are clear for you and I to see. Today unemployment rate is at 13%, double digit. So if you've done all this, if indeed you've done all this, we should not be standing at 13%. The third point is that, you see, as I keep saying, these people, if you want to listen to them, they will convince you. They will convince you. And that is why we are there to expose them. All the policies he mentioned under agriculture, agriculture, how much do you buy a tuber of yam today compared to 2016?
These
how
are
much do you buy
seasonal products.
Please.
Seasonal products.
Please.
Compare that
how
to
much
the
do you buy
President Kufuor was president.
How much do you buy tomatoes? How much do you buy onion? These are the things that the people of Ghana would want to experience, that when you put out good policies, its effect is that we must go to the market, and with the little amount of money that we have, we should be able to buy enough. But that is not what is happening today. So it is not about what you say.
Okay.
My last point.
No, you see, very brief from
sure. My last point. You see, today, statistics indicates that our nursing trainees are leaving the shores of this country because they are not being employed, because their salaries are not enough. Go and check the statistics. You are telling the people of Ghana that you have reinstated the teacher trainee allowances. Today they are crying over 1 year. You haven't paid them. So you just came to lie to them that you will give it to them. But today I said more than 1 year. You haven't paid teacher trainee allowances.
It is not true.
Is that the reality?
It is not true.
Is that how it's supposed to be?
It's not.
That
true.
is not it. But you see, senior, there are certain things that we need not to do politics with it. I attended training college. During my time, it was a post-secondary education. Under John Mahama, please. Under John Mahama, the status of teacher trainees were uplifted to a tertiary institution. So today, as we speak, teacher training colleges are full-fledged tertiary institutions. Which today, people graduate from training colleges with first degree. I graduated with diploma. And Ghana, as we know, the Tertiary Institution Act requires that those at the tertiary institution should have to go for student loan. And let's ask ourselves, what is the rationale behind the implementation of these allowances?
Okay.
Gone were the days that people were not interested in teacher training colleges. It was a motivating factor for people to go. Today, people finish secondary school and most of them want to become teachers because it's an already job that immediately you finish, you are employed. Under John Mahama, today you have to queue, write application before you are being employed.
Well,
so let us not do politics with this
conversation.
Yes.
Did you not benefit from it? Did you not benefit?
It's about the reality.
Did you benefit
from the NPP? He's a government spokesperson on economy, and also Godwin Ayaba Mahama. He's from the NDC communication team joining us this morning. Gentlemen, a very big thank you to you for joining us this morning. And hopefully we all come early next week right? And then we can do this much better. But
Now
I'm
you talk to
grateful.
the latecomers.
Oh, but I mentioned over you already that the NDC is coming late.
Oh, are you sure?
Oh, very well. I mean,
They'll
I
be
don't know
late.
for
They'll be
whatever
late in the
reason, but
2024
no,
election.
I don't.
They'll be late in the
Most of them, by the way.
I don't agree
It's
to
only
this.
honorable that comes very.
We have to
honorable
pick-
even.
we have to pick
I don't
over.
come early. Honorable
don't come
came late
early.
last week, which was very unusual thing. But
No, they will
like,
have to forgive us. They should forgive us.
no, this is
They'll
not
be late in the
forgiveness.
elections. Don't worry.
We have elections coming up.
They'll be
They should
late.
forgive us.
And
No,
we
because
win.
of that
They know we win.
by election. You know,
Oh, yeah.
we are
They'll be late in the
doing a lot there. They should
elections.
forgive us.
Do you not have places to sleep?
Is there-
I learned the NDP has taken over the hotels.
I mean, now they have all our taxes are with them. So that's what they are using to
it's
run
okay
the
for them to
hotels.
do that.
Yes, that's what they are using our taxes for.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming to Gentlemen.